not the most watched boxing female match ever, period. So that's all it was. That's what happened over the weekend. He does a 20-minute interview dissing me. Cam is trying to rewrite history. Cam don't, pardon me. Cam don't know what he talking about. Cam is crazy. This nigga, he don't like black women. Da 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 da. And I'm like, bro, all I did was read what was on the cue card. How I'm trying to rewrite history. I DM'd her back. I said, this is stalking at this point. I don't want to give you the attention you don't want. You're going to get the attention that you don't want. I'm telling you. I said this in the DM. She said, let's go at it. And that's where it went. I'm just a funny nigga. So I just started clowning her. After I'm clowning her, she go back and forth, back and forth.
I'll let you know that. Feel free to come up here because I would love to see you, talk to Killer and put him in his place, Put him in his place.
With the hands, okay.
That's all it's over. Whole shit is over the viewership. It all started. I'm trying to rewrite history. That's all it started. Then what happened was, I said, listen, you got 15 fights and 3 knockouts. Good. So she put up murder. She puts up. I'm mad I'm not in the studio. She want to fight niggas. So I'm like, if you really a nigga, just say you a nigga. I don't know what you are at this point. But she has a problem in what she want to fight Jake Paul. She want to fight mad niggas. So I showed her when she was fighting the nigga cleaned her clock. Stop playing with people like that. And then she got mad. Skip the line. You want to come up? Come up. Come up tomorrow. I said, what's up? So come on up. Let's talk about it.
Before we even get into the games, Cam, I got a question because there's a lot going on the internet, and why not ask you? So, Claressa Shields, what's going on? What's the issue? Can you kind of inform us a little bit about what's happening?
I had female stalkers before, but it's usually after I fuck them. I never had a female stalker that I didn't fuck. And this is kind of new for me. So this is actually what happened. I did the face-off between Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. I'm reading the cue cards. We talked about this last week, but I'm going to inform my audience who don't know. I'm reading the cue cards. On the cue cards, it says, the most watched women's fight ever, Katie Taylor against Amanda Serrano. I don't know what's the most watched female boxing match. Now, don't get me wrong. I love female boxing, but I never studied who was the most watched female boxing match. So I'm just reading what's on the card. After that, she goes on a DMs me, yo, you got that wrong, champ. Da 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 da. I'm the most watched female fighter. Fine. I said, congratulations. But after last night, which was the next day after the Jake Paul main event with them, I said, you got some catching up to do. Cool. After that, she says, I look forward to breaking records. I put fire, fire, fire emoji. The next day after that, she does a 20-minute interview dissing me. Cam is trying to rewrite history. Cam don't, pardon me. Cam don't know what he talking about. Cam is crazy. This nigga, he don't like black women. Da 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 da. And I'm like, bro, all I did was read what was on the cue card. How I'm trying to rewrite history. I didn't know who was the most watched, but I did know after the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, and they co-made an event, it was 50 million, 60 million, whatever it was, watching them. All this turns into Cam don't like black women. Cam is hating on me. I'm trying to rewrite history. I didn't know the history. So then I left it alone. I said what I said on the show. Then she tagging me in videos talking about, yeah, Cam, look at this, this, and that third. So I left it alone. She tagged me again. So I DM'd her back. I said, this is stalking at this point. I don't want to give you the attention you don't want. You're going to get the attention that you don't want. I'm telling you. I said this in the DM. She said, let's go at it. And that's where it went. I'm just a funny nigga. So I just started clowning her. After I'm clowning her, she go back and forth, back and forth. Look, sir, I don't know you, homeboy. I don't know nothing you do but box. I have no opinion of you. I don't care if your fight was the most watched or not the most watched. My nigga, I do not know you from nowhere. So that's all the back and forth, but I was just having fun with it over the weekend. And she was putting up shit, I was putting up shit. But everything she was putting up, she don't know what the fuck she talking about. I got robbed. I never got robbed. Nigga tried to take my Lamborghini from me. I said no. I got shot up behind it. No disrespect, I'm not saying that's a smart thing to do. But you don't have your facts correct. When you get your facts correct, I'll tell you you're right, but all your facts are incorrect. Look, mister, I don't know you from nowhere. I hope you enjoy your life. I hope you have fun, but I don't know you. I'm not trying to rewrite history. I know one thing for sure, two things for certain. You don't have the most watched boxing female match ever. Ever. Period. So that's all it was. That's what happened over the weekend.
So was all this over just the viewership?
That's all it's over. Whole shit is over the viewership. It all started. I'm trying to rewrite history. That's all it started. Then what happened is, I said, listen, you got 15 fights and 3 knockouts. Good. So she put up murder. She puts up. I'm so sorry. I'm mad I'm not in the studio. My flight got delayed. You got to get me out the murder. It's up to you to get me out the 2 with the demons. I want to be in studio for this. I'll be there tomorrow. But the point being is, it's all over viewership. That's all it's about. And then I put up, look, you got 15 fights and 3 knockouts. So she put up, you want to be the 4th knockout? So I put up when she was sparring with a nigga and the nigga knocked her out. And she ran her car to get her knife. I says, from everything I'm learning, because I learned about this girl all weekend because people tagging me. She want to fight every nigga. She want to fight Gennady Golovkin, Keith Thurman, what's my nigga? Porter, the nigga Porter. She want to fight niggas. So I'm like, if you really a nigga, just say you a nigga. I don't know what you are at this point. But she has a problem in what she want to fight Jake Paul. She want to fight mad niggas. So I showed her when she was fighting the nigga cleaned her clock. Stop playing with people like that. And then she got mad. But I did get offered to go on Mad Comedy tours this weekend. D-Ray hit me up. Cedric then a few niggas hit me, said, Cam, we'll give you 30 minutes, nigga. He said, Cam, if you want to go on a comedy, I said, I don't have a stand-up act, man. Few niggas hit me, I said, I'm not even really trying to be funny. I'm just telling you what's going on. But I did get offered to go on some comedy tours. But this is all over the viewership murder. That's exactly what this is over. Because I said that Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano had the most views ever. That's what it's all over.
I think that's the misunderstanding. I think from hearing what Stat is saying, I don't really know, so anybody don't put me in it. But when it comes to viewership, she's basically saying that she was hosting this fight and she was the headliner of this fight, and those girls weren't. Is that the real beef? Am I getting it correct?
Yeah, basically, like, it was mainly about the viewership, and I don't know, because can I just say really quick?
Yeah.
The whole thing, and I'm not inserting myself into, I don't want any part of this. I'm just saying, when it was first discussed, Cam didn't say anything bad. So that's why I don't understand why, like, it just got so hostile. He actually was like praising her and was like, look, like, she like that type of thing. It was never supposed to be any sort of discourse, argument. So what I'm just gonna say, if you'd like to chat, you guys can have a great discussion on the show. Everybody can say their sides.
That's the thing. So that's my thing too. Your publicist's been begging for you to come on the show. I'm talking about begging. I didn't even tell Murder about it because I said it don't make no sense right now for her to come on the show. Whenever she got a fight, let her come on the show before her fight so it could promote the fight. Because I guess she was in Vegas a few times. There's like, can we please get on the show? And I'm like, it don't really make sense for us to come on the show. But you skipped the line. You want to come up? Come up. Come up tomorrow. I said, what's up? So come on up. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with
You
that.
did
I'm
it
in
tonight
agreement
before
with
the
that.
fight. Cam, that before the fight, right? Tonight you did your stand up with him.
I did the standoff thing before the fight. No. It was about 5 weeks, 5 days before the fight. They ended about 3 days before the fight. Yeah.
Right. Okay. But the guy, when I was there working the show, when I was hosting, the guy from MVP Promotions, that's exactly what he said. This is the most watched women fight in the history of women boxing. You know, that's what he said. So I don't know. I mean, maybe she should go after him too. I'm just saying.
And there were other platforms also that said that that we're following old media or something like that, and I wanted them to know we're not following old media. That's an isolated incident, and we're here to clarify it. And anyone that feels different, feel free to just come on live and share your gripes. We really would like to hear it, because we really like it is what it is to be a non-biased platform. Sometimes we give strong views because that's really how sometimes we feel about things, and we wanted to create a platform where people can say how they really feel. And some people are going to get offended by certain things, and we understand that. We understand that's a part of the sport. But none of it is personal with me. I know that. And I don't think any of this is personal with Killer. I think he said what he was saying. And to her defense, if you would like to come up, Claressa, you're more than welcome. I'm letting you know that. Killer let you know that. Feel free to come up here, because I would love to see you, talk to Killer and put him in his place, put him in his place.
Put them hands on Killer. Put them hands on.
Let me tell you something. A lot of people tried. A lot of people tried. A lot of people died.
Yeah, I've been around Killer a long time. I never seen a lady put him in his place. So I welcome you up here.
Must see TV.
A lot of people tried. A lot of people died.
I'm done. And I would just like to clarify one more time. None of this is scripted. Like, we're actually having an open,
we just have
no, I'm just as confused as probably y'all are. So that's why I asked. We're up here to get the answers. Everybody can speak their truth. It would be a great discussion. And we're not trying to have messy TV. We just want a place where, and sometimes this happened with me and Killer when we're speaking, that we want this to be a place where everybody could bring their views to the table. Nobody has to let one view dominate the conversation. I think that's what makes healthy conversation, when everybody is able to say how they feel. Like, there's a guy just walked past here. He got on a pink paws hat, a pink Dipset outfit. He wears it every day. But, and we let him walk past. So we're open to everybody pause coming by,
And another thing, and one thing I'm going to say before we move on, May's view is May's view, Stab view is Stab view. I don't necessarily agree with their view all the time neither.
Yeah.
Like right now, I don't have to agree with them, because a lot of shit done got watered down on this show, my opinion. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. So come on up. Mace can be politically correct like he's talking, and I'm going to be me like I'm me. So come on up. So let them be. We don't all have the same opinion.
Oh, Killer, I'm not saying I got a different opinion. Like, I don't want to hear the conversation. I'm for it. You know me, right? I'm for it. I believe that's how you bring the best pause out of people. Is let people figure it out,
Yeah.
I'm really not over here on a bias. I'm not biased. I'm never biased. I'm neutral.
Right.
Okay.
And get all
I'm just telling you.
That's what we do here. That's what we do here. Now, and here's my last perspective on it too now. And you guys have known me. We joked around about it. When somebody breaks my record in an 88 or Strepro in my, I said, wait a minute. I'm looking forward for them to break my record, because it builds on to the whole program. No, I'm
Mike,
just saying, women's
and we're
sports is
able to
growing up.
ask you that though.
Women's
We're
sports are
able to
growing
ask you
up
that.
right now.
That's what make this a different show.
Right,
We're able to ask you that
right.
question. Other places they wouldn't ask it. They'll feel like that's disrespectful. This time Killers asked me things I didn't necessarily want to communicate about it, but he asked the question. So we keep that same energy for everybody. So just so Killer know that we keeping that same energy with everybody. It don't matter who it is.
You get the perspective on it. You're right. But what I was saying is to get the perspective on it. That's why when you guys ask me, my job is to grow the sport best they can grow. I want all athletes because it helps their pocket, it helps their business, it helps their sport to grow it. So if she got evidence that she had a bigger fight, that's fine. But if you didn't have a bigger fight, that's good. I mean, the sport is still growing. Look at the WNBA right now. Juju come in here next year, we want her to do the same thing Caitlin Clark did for the WNBA. If you really care about the sport and not just you, the individual, you should be happy when the sport is growing and everybody else is tuning in. That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna let it go. You ain't gotta cut me up. Cam's handling it by himself. Stay on Cam. But I just wanted to drop that in there.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I did speak to my guys at MVP. After the holidays, Amanda Serrano will be coming on the show, and Jake Paul will be coming on the show after the holidays. So come.
What looked like nothing more than a standard face-off card reading somehow exploded into one of the strangest and most chaotic celebrity controversies in recent memory. By the time everything started settling down, Cam was being accused of everything from rewriting boxing history to allegedly carrying some kind of bitterness toward black women as a whole. And the unbelievable part is that the entire mess reportedly started with him simply reading words that were already printed on the card in front of him. So let's walk through how this seemingly harmless moment turned into a much bigger situation, because you won't believe just how many different layers eventually got attached to it. The story itself begins pretty calmly. Cam is watching Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor face off, and he's given promotional cards to read on camera, which is something hosts regularly do when event organizers provide talking points. The card in front of him essentially claims that this was the most watched women's fight in history. Cam reads the statement exactly as it appears. He's not adding his personal opinion to it. He's not claiming that he independently researched and verified the numbers himself. He's simply repeating information provided by MVP Promotions. And similar language was already being repeated by other media outlets covering the event. Yet somehow that basic moment of reading a promotional cue becomes the match that lights an entire weekend on fire. Not long after, Claressa Shields reportedly slides into Cam's DMs. Her message is blunt and leaves little doubt about where she stands. She tells him he's wrong, champ. Shields argues that she is actually the most watched female fighter, not Taylor, not Serrano. But this is where Cam's response becomes important. Rather than immediately pushing back or getting defensive, he actually gives Shields her flowers. He congratulates her and acknowledges her accomplishments. At the same time, he points out that after a huge Jake Paul co-main event reportedly attracted somewhere around 50 to 60 million viewers the following day, there was still a significant gap if she wanted to personally claim that specific record. At that point, honestly, it seemed like the conversation should have been over. Cam even responds with a string of fire emojis. From his perspective, it appeared to be more of a playful way of saying, "I see you, keep working." And that seemed to be the end of the exchange, with Cam still showing her respect. But Shields apparently viewed the interaction very differently. The following day, she went live for a roughly 20-minute interview and spent a substantial portion of that conversation publicly criticizing Cam, accusing him of attempting to rewrite boxing history. And suddenly, the controversy takes an entirely different direction because her criticism reportedly moves beyond the question of boxing statistics. According to Cam's own explanation on his show, Shields went even further by suggesting that he has an issue with black women, bringing race into a situation that originally appeared to be nothing more than a disagreement over fight viewership numbers. For Cam, the entire situation feels almost impossible to believe. From his perspective, he did nothing more than read the words placed on a cue card. Yet somehow, that simple moment turned into allegations about racial bias and accusations that he was rewriting boxing history. What makes the escalation so unbelievable is the huge gap between how insignificant the original moment seemed and how massive the fallout eventually became. A promotional card, a compliment, a little commentary about recent viewership numbers, and suddenly Cam is dealing with a 20-minute segment publicly questioning his character. At first, Cam decides not to feed into it. He briefly explains his position on his show, gives his side of the story, and moves on. But Shields apparently isn't ready to let the situation die down. She continues tagging him across multiple videos, repeatedly pushing the issue, and seemingly challenging him to finally engage. After getting tagged over and over, Cam eventually sends her a direct message, telling her that the repeated behavior is starting to feel like stalking, and warning that if she keeps demanding his attention, she may end up getting exactly the response she claims she doesn't want. According to Cam, her reply essentially gave him permission to fire back. Suddenly, the situation had the green light to turn into a full-blown public exchange. And once that happened, Cam admits he fell right into his usual instinct to joke, clown, and push the situation even further. What came next was basically a non-stop exchange of insults and accusations from both sides. This is where the whole feud gets especially complicated. Once the online gloves came off, both sides began throwing out personal claims, some of them extremely serious, while much of the information remained unverified. Cam brings up situations he says were connected to Shields, including an alleged robbery involving a Lamborghini and a shooting he says was tied to that same incident. Even while discussing those allegations on his podcast, he makes it clear that he isn't presenting the behavior as something admirable or smart. He's saying he's simply recounting what he believes happened. Whether every detail of his version can be independently confirmed isn't necessarily the biggest takeaway from that portion of the discussion. The bigger picture is that both sides have now moved into personal attacks, rapid-fire accusations, and increasingly heated commentary, with neither side appearing interested in slowing down. And honestly, that's exactly how these celebrity internet wars tend to evolve, once pride and ego take over. Shields isn't backing away either. She tells Cam that she doesn't really know him, says she has no serious opinion of him outside the boxing conversation, and insists that she doesn't even care whether the fight officially qualifies as the most watched or not. But when you really think about that statement, there's an obvious contradiction. The entire dispute seemingly started because of that exact claim about who owns the most watched record. Yet after multiple exchanges, she's now saying the number doesn't matter to her at all. That's the strange cycle these online feuds often fall into, because the original disagreement gets buried under emotion, pride, and escalating tension until both sides are arguing about everything except the issue that started it. Cam, however, still has the research and numbers he says he collected over the weekend, so he's not willing to simply abandon that part of the argument. He tells Shields that regardless of how personal the feud becomes, one thing still hasn't changed. Based on the numbers he's pointing to, she does not hold the record for the most watched women's boxing match in history. And according to his argument, the gap becomes even more significant when the reported audience for the Jake Paul event is taken into consideration. That statistic becomes the backbone of Cam's position. He says he's not trying to erase her accomplishments, insult her career, or question what she's done inside the ring. His argument is much narrower. He believes the available viewership data doesn't support the specific record she's claiming. And then, just when you think the feud can't get any stranger, Cam takes the conversation in an almost comical direction that completely changes the energy of the exchange. He starts bringing up her professional boxing record. 15 fights, 3 knockouts, and Cam drops the statistic almost like a casual punchline in the middle of the back and forth. Shields answers by reaching into a completely different and far more serious chapter of Cam's public history, while Cam responds by bringing up a viral confrontation where she was reportedly knocked out during a street altercation and allegedly reached for a knife afterward. At this point, the entire feud starts looking less like a disagreement between two established adults with enormous public platforms, and more like two people going back and forth on the same playground, each refusing to be the one who walks away first. And honestly, that contrast is probably one of the biggest reasons people became so fascinated by the whole spectacle. There is something incredibly raw about watching it unfold. It has an unfiltered intensity that you rarely see from professional athletes, especially people who are normally coached to stay media-friendly, controlled, and polished. As the weekend rolls on, Cam says he starts looking further into Shields' online history, partly because supporters keep tagging him in older clips and posts. According to Cam, what he finds is a repeated pattern of Shields calling out other fighters, including major names such as Gennady Golovkin, Keith Thurman, and Sean Porter. These are men who compete in different weight divisions and, from a physical standpoint, operate in a completely different lane. Cam takes that pattern as a sign that maybe Shields isn't simply looking for competition, but could be chasing a much bigger spectacle. He even jokes that if that's really what she wants, she should just say she wants the crossover fight and own it. It's definitely a pointed comment, but according to Cam, this one seems to strike a much deeper nerve with Shields than the earlier exchanges did. While explaining her reaction, Cam doubles down by referencing an alleged incident where she was knocked out by an amateur or lesser-known opponent, using that story to question whether repeatedly challenging elite male fighters is really the power move she believes it is. And then, somehow, the entire situation takes another bizarre turn that nobody could have predicted. Cam reveals that while all of this online chaos was happening, he was actually approached about joining a comedy tour. According to him, comedians contacted him directly and offered him a 30-minute spot on stage, apparently because viewers were finding his online roasting of Shields so entertaining. Cam laughs while telling the story and admits he doesn't even have an actual stand-up routine. He wasn't performing a planned comedy set. He was simply reacting naturally in the moment, and somehow that spontaneous back and forth turned into a real professional opportunity in a completely different part of the entertainment world. It may sound like a minor detail, but it perfectly shows just how quickly this feud became viral entertainment and how much attention the entire spectacle generated in only a few days. Once we move beyond Cam's personal account of what happened, the other hosts on the panel offer a noticeably calmer and more balanced perspective, and that could change the way viewers interpret the entire controversy. One of the co-hosts emphasizes that when the topic first came up on the show, Cam never actually attacked Shields or said anything disrespectful about her. If anything, he gave her credit, acknowledging her accomplishments while also recognizing the ambition that helped build her career. From that angle, the entire misunderstanding seems to have developed because Shields interpreted a discussion about viewership statistics as a personal shot, even though the original conversation was presented in a relatively respectful way. And that difference is important because it reflects a much bigger problem with how conversations happen in today's media environment. A comment that starts out neutral or even complimentary can travel through screenshots, clipped videos, reposts, and secondhand explanations until all of the original context disappears. By the time the message reaches the person being discussed, it can sound completely hostile, even when that wasn't the original intention at all. The hosts make it clear that they would much rather see the disagreement handled like adults than watch it continue turning into an increasingly personal public feud. So they put out a direct invitation for Shields to come on to the show, sit down with Cam, and explain her position face-to-face instead of continuing the conversation through DMs, social media tags, and competing versions of the story. But there is another interesting piece of this situation that makes the whole thing even more complicated, because Shields' team had reportedly been trying to get her onto the show long before this controversy ever happened. Cam says her publicist had reached out multiple times and had even approached members of the crew during a trip to Las Vegas, repeatedly asking about getting Shields booked for an appearance. Cam explains that he intentionally waited on the interview not because he had some personal issue with her, but because he believed the timing could have been better. His idea was to schedule the appearance closer to her next fight, so the interview could actually help promote her upcoming event and benefit her professionally. That detail could completely change the way some viewers interpret Cam's motives, because it suggests that delaying the appearance may have been more about strategy and timing than intentionally keeping Shields away. And now, after the entire controversy has unfolded, he's making the invitation publicly and directly. Whenever you're ready, come through, sit down with us, and let's talk about this face-to-face. The hosts then use that invitation to explain something they see as a major part of the show's identity. They want the program to remain a place where athletes, celebrities, and public figures can bring disagreements into an open environment, rather than battling exclusively online, where context and nuance can disappear almost instantly. They acknowledge that their opinions can sometimes be strong, that controversial takes are naturally part of the show's format, and that disagreement is inevitable when people are willing to speak openly. But they argue that this isn't necessarily a weakness, because meaningful conversation requires competing perspectives, instead of allowing one version of a story to go completely unchallenged. There is even a brief lighter moment when one of the hosts jokes about a fan walking past in a very recognizable outfit, using the situation as another example of how open and accessible the show's environment is supposed to be. The broader point is that people can step into their space, whether literally or through conversation, without automatically being treated as an enemy. One host then connects the discussion to another example, explaining that they've previously talked about athletes potentially breaking major long-standing records and why that should be viewed as something positive rather than something threatening. The logic is simple. When somebody pushes the sport forward, the entire sport has an opportunity to benefit, even if one individual eventually loses a record they once held. And that brings the discussion back to the central philosophy behind the segment. Growth in women's boxing should ultimately be considered a win for women's boxing, even if that growth eventually means one fighter no longer owns a particular record. If Shields truly has evidence that proves her claim, then the hosts argue that she deserves recognition for it, and that accomplishment should be celebrated. But if the available numbers don't support the claim, then the healthier perspective may be to celebrate the fact that women's boxing is reaching bigger audiences than ever before, instead of treating every new milestone as an attack on someone's legacy. They reinforce that point by comparing the situation to another sport experiencing a massive surge in popularity, the WNBA. The hosts point to the explosion of attention surrounding the league after a major rookie star arrived, demonstrating how one emerging player can dramatically increase interest in an entire sport. And when that happens, the benefits don't belong exclusively to the player who triggered the attention. Other athletes, teams, and the league itself can all gain from the increased spotlight. The underlying message is pretty straightforward and honestly difficult to dismiss. If the real goal is to grow the sport rather than protect one individual's spotlight, then another athlete's success should feel like a victory for everyone involved, instead of something that has to be treated as a threat. By the time the segment reaches its conclusion, the energy has completely changed, moving away from the personal attacks and online chaos that dominated the earlier portion and toward a much more constructive, diplomatic, and forward-looking message. Cam also confirms that he has already been in contact with people connected to MVP Promotions, and Amanda Serrano is reportedly set to join the show after the holidays, alongside Jake Paul. That development could effectively move the conversation beyond the Shields controversy by bringing the other fighter from the original comparison directly into the discussion and letting the guests, facts, and numbers tell the story from here. So when you strip away all the insults, reactions, and social media chaos, what is the actual lesson from this entire situation? At its core, this is a perfect example of how an ordinary online moment can grow into something dramatically bigger than anyone originally expected. One simple statement read from a promotional cue card somehow became accusations of rewriting boxing history and racial bias, then evolved into deeply personal exchanges involving alleged street incidents, professional records, and fighter call-outs before eventually shifting toward an open invitation to sit down and talk things out. It's messy, uncomfortable, and at certain points completely chaotic. But it's also an unusually raw look at how public figures sometimes handle conflict when there are no carefully scripted statements or perfectly polished PR responses controlling every word. What may be even more interesting is that despite how heated the back and forth became, there still appears to be an effort from the hosts and apparently from Cam as well to leave some room for mutual respect. Even after insults and serious accusations were thrown around, the show's closing message isn't simply to keep fighting online. It's to leave the door open for both sides to sit down, explain themselves, and actually hear each other without allowing one version of the story to completely dominate the conversation. Whether Shields chooses to accept that invitation is still unknown, but the hosts have made it clear that the opportunity remains available. And considering how much attention this entire situation generated in just one weekend, you already know viewers would probably be watching the second she finally steps through that door. But there's a much larger issue hiding underneath this entire controversy, and it involves the incredibly thin line between promotion and provocation in combat sports media. Every fight announcement, promotional campaign, press tour, and cue card is usually designed to sell the audience on one central idea. This fighter, this event, or this particular moment is bigger than anything that came before it. That's not some new strategy invented yesterday. Boxing promoters have been using that formula for generations. The problem begins when different promotional teams start throwing around the exact same superlatives, calling their fighters the biggest, most watched, or most historic, because eventually those competing claims are going to collide when they reach the same audience. Cam wasn't necessarily inventing controversy from nothing. He was standing directly between two competing promotional narratives that were never really built to peacefully exist side by side. And this situation also exposes something much deeper about the current state of women's boxing, a sport that spent decades trying to secure even a fraction of the attention traditionally given to men's boxing. Once that spotlight finally became available, it was only natural that the fighters who fought so hard to reach it would become protective of their place inside it. For years, there simply wasn't enough mainstream attention for everyone to receive the recognition they deserved. Shields, who is widely regarded as one of the most accomplished boxers of her generation, has spent much of her career demanding recognition that arguably arrived far slower than her achievements warranted. Viewed from that perspective, her reaction, regardless of how intense it became, can be interpreted less as completely random hostility and more as frustration from someone who has spent years building her legacy while watching another storyline suddenly dominate the conversation. That doesn't make the personal attacks from either side automatically acceptable, but it does help explain why a seemingly insignificant cue card statement could trigger such a powerful response so quickly. Because when you really look at it, this wasn't simply a fight over one sentence printed on one promotional card. It was a collision between established legacies, competing marketing narratives, and a sport that has finally grown large enough for arguments over recognition, credit, and historical importance to become unavoidable. And ironically, that may be the most important way to understand how this entire saga comes full circle. The fact that women's boxing can now generate a public controversy this massive, this heated, and this entertaining is actually evidence of how dramatically the sport has grown. Not that long ago, a disagreement over viewership numbers involving two elite female fighters probably wouldn't have generated anything close to this level of attention, simply because the audience wasn't large enough for those numbers to carry this much cultural weight.